my three?
Sure.
1, 2, 3.
No one tells me what to do.
Okay, the chat had our back there a second ago, right before we signed on, and I pulled up the other computer over here, and they mentioned that, like, oops, it was still the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood hashtags on the bottom of it. Welcome to Once Upon a Time in Hobbs and Shaw. The story about how Hobbs and Shaw go through Hollywood in the 1960s. Might involve the Manson family, because the Fast and the Furious movies involve family somehow.
Well, you could have called this movie Once Upon a Time in Samoa.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into all kinds of Fast and Furious. I like how it's Fast and Furious presents. It's the fourth movie that's presenting this movie. It's presenting the spin-off movie Hobbs and Shaw. Could be the Tequila and Benetti of the of the Fast and the Furious universe. Anyway, I'm Brad Jones, here with Geno Reynolds, and where can we find you on YouTube?
The Real Geno, REELGENO.
I did have the graphic for your. I need to put that in my saved file. Because there's times when I'm doing this where I'm like, man, I deleted another graphic. from the stuff I usually delete from the previous week's show. Crap, like there's been times when I'm like, now let's go to the clip. Oops. I guess we could just reenact it for you. Oh yeah, let's reenact this movie. There's no elevator outside that I can jump onto, so I'll just dive down the stairs.
Well, if we were reenact this movie, I'm definitely The Rock. I mean, come on, look.
I got a deep voice and I'm, bald, so I'll be Jason Statham. Yes, it's my dream. I also have to keep my adrenaline up to keep from dying, so I can kill assassins.
I gotta say, I would love Jason Statham to play me in a movie, and he can even make it British and rewrite my origin story.
Exactly. It would be more accurate than most Hollywood biopics that come out. We just got one movie here for you tonight. The past few weeks, it's really been one movie releases. Lion King a couple of weeks ago, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood last week. Next week, that's going to change. I think there's about 4 movies next week, but until then, we've got Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. That's the movie that we're going to be talking about tonight. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. We're at youtube.com/Stone Gremlin Productions. You can also follow us on Instagram at The Cinema Snob, on Twitter at The Cinema Snob as well. And we're going to have big announcements coming up soon. Nothing I can... that I don't think, at least, that I could say right now. But we're going to have big announcements coming up soon in regards to another Cinema Snob movie. We got some really cool distribution news on that coming up. So, while you're at it, go ahead and order your copy. You can watch it now on Vimeo On Demand, or you can order the DVD. That's at cinemasnobmovie.com. And if you also go to our eBay page, I think this might be one of those...
that you deleted?
Yeah, I think it is.
Well, good. I don't feel left out.
This is one of the pictures that I deleted. If you go to our eBay store, which is the name of our store is Stone Gremlin Productions. It's probably like ebay.com/Stone Gremlin Productions or something.
Well, at least people know what an eBay page looks like. My channel, on the other hand, they don't know what it looks like, and now I feel bad.
Yes, but they haven't seen my sweet graphic on the eBay page. So,
and by the way, the news he has to share is awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
I like to think I'm a little privy to some information, and he shared, and no, I can't share, and don't ask me on my channel either. But it's really cool, and if you're a fan of Brad, you're going to be excited.
Oh yeah, you'll be very excited about this. We got really big distribution news coming up on that. But you can get the movie right now over at cinemasnobmovie.com. On our eBay store at Stone Gremlin Productions, we're selling the Cinema Snob Collection, which is cheaper than buying all of these individually. It's all the Cinema Snob DVDs. It's the 3 uncut episode DVDs. It's the first Cinema Snob movie. It's this old best of thing we put out a bunch of years ago, which is the public domain month. And it's another Cinema Snob movie as well. And that's over again at our eBay store, ebay.com. Probably / Stone Gremlin Productions, I guess. Stone Gremlin Productions is the name of our eBay store. You'll find it on there. We'll find it on there. And we will be showing another clip from the movie, one that we haven't shown on the show before. And that'll be after the review. Speaking of the review, let's go ahead and get into the review of Hobbs and Shaw. Before we do that, though, we'll take a look at another clip, and we'll be right back.
Access granted. Access denied. Access denied. Access denied.
Well, between that clip and the first clip, you might get the feeling there's a lot of ass kicking in this movie. Oh, and as always, contribute to the super chat. If you contribute comments or questions or anything like that, I see we have one in there right now. We always get to that after the reviews or in between the reviews. We just got one review tonight, so we'll be getting to all the super chat comments and questions at the end of the review. So we'll be doing that. We'll be doing that then. But until then, okay. Hobbs and Shaw. Going into this, were you a fan of the series at all?
I think they're fine. I can find some enjoyment out of them.
Yeah.
That being said, Furious 8 or Fate of the Furious or
Yeah.
whatever the heck it was called
Fate
that
of the
they
Furious.
made a funny pun name for.
Yeah.
The best part of that movie was Hobbs and Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
So I was more excited for this one than I would say I am for what is it, part 9 that comes out, next year? So I was excited for this. And then when I hear David Leitch is attached, who was involved in
John
Wick
Yeah.
and did Deadpool 2, just big time stuntman, I was excited. I was like, great. I love what I am seeing from this. So I was, even not just it being a Fast and Furious movie, which can be fun for me, it was because of who was attached. I love The Rock. I love Statham.
Yeah.
I love David Leitch and Idris Elba, and I like him a lot.
Yeah.
So I was excited for what it could be.
Yeah, so and the movie right off the bat, it doesn't hide what kind of movie it is. It doesn't even, it's unapologetic at where this series has gone. Meaning, not that this was ever that realistic of a series, but to go from the first one to the opening moments of this, it's like the jump between Friday the 13th and Jason X. Well, maybe that'll be the next one, because I think they are talking about sending the series to space. But which, you know what, it would be appropriate at this point. The opening moments of this is Idris Elba, who's Brixton, this Terminator villain,
Basically.
who is hijacking this armored car in order to get a hold of this virus, and he's bulletproof. He's a super soldier, basically. He's got this bulletproof leather suit, essentially, and his eyes go into Terminator mode, where it goes to his point of view, and it's like the Terminator, like, the
Basically turns into a first-person shooter.
Yeah, where it's showing the stats of the person. Like, okay, you remember, like, imagine the Terminator POV crossed with, like, remember how in, like, Sherlock Holmes, where he'd be, like, calculating how a person was going to hit, the angles it would go, the amount of force, the amount of speed. Imagine if that was just simply Sherlock Holmes' point of view. Like, that he was actually seeing what we, the audience, were seeing in front of our eyes. And so, okay, we've set up that this is going to be a cartoon. Totally. Like, yeah, I'm in this universe where it's like Tango and Cash meets Terminator with a little Mission Impossible 2 thrown in there, because it's also got a plot line that has to do with this virus, and then protecting the female protagonist in the movie, who is also infected with said virus, and they got to keep her safe while taking on Idris Elba's character and his army and his group of like Rocky IV scientists who have genetically engineered this killing machine super soldier. And there was a lot of things that were carrying it. Certainly how it certainly how it goes into absurdity with the plot, with the action, how Idris Elba's motorcycle is a transformer. It's a transformer crossed with the bike from the Dirt Bike Kid, where he can whistle to it like it's a dog and it'll come right to him. But then you also have what the movie is also sold on, aside from the action, and it's why they made this movie, where you have the characters of Hobbs and Shaw, Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham, who've proven in the other movies they have very good chemistry together. And so it makes sense if you're going to spin off with a couple of characters, it would be these two. I mean, their charisma alone can... Ooh, that's the opening. Their charisma... Now you're not confused as to what movie we're talking about. Their charisma alone can carry movies that they're just individually in.
Yeah.
Like, they can carry a film that just on their shoulders, you know, that maybe otherwise maybe wouldn't be that great, but they have so much gravitas and charisma that it can carry through a lot of stuff, as is the case with about every great action movie star. You put these two together in a movie where they can bounce back and forth off of each other, where there's this crazy action going on, you're going to get some humor out of it. And they do, by and large, as you see in the clip. There's funny stuff in the movie, and they're certainly not afraid to be silly with the action, whether it's in the clips that you just saw, or later on, you've seen this in the trailer too, later on where they got a chain attached to a truck that's dragging behind a helicopter, and it gets loose, and Dwayne Johnson, with his powerful arms, has to pull... You know, that's the thing about this movie, too, is that, like, okay, like, yeah, he grabs a chain and pulls his helicopter close and ties it back up. I mean, do we even need super soldiers in this universe? That, like, yeah, Idris Elba's pretty powerful in the movie, but so is everyone else.
Well, it's funny because it's funny that they're the main characters, the good guys, are super powerful until they're fighting Idris Elba.
Yeah.
So, you know, then it's all of a sudden, because you know what the lesson of this movie is going to be. It's, we got to work together.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you know, neither of them can beat up Idris Elba by themselves, and we got to play nice if we're gonna defeat him. But you know, maybe you can think this. Maybe they grow super soldiers in Samoa. I mean, all the family.
They got to get the family in there somewhere. And it's run by Cliff Curtis. I love Cliff Curtis. Cliff Curtis as Dwayne Johnson's brother, who's like a tech genius in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure.
My favorite part to watch about the family was wrestler Roman Reigns is one of the characters. He's related to The Rock.
In real life?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's like a cousin,
Sure.
but it was like a merged family kind of thing, like a Samoan merged family kind of thing. I don't know how that works. Heck, I'm surprised the other cousins, the Uso brothers from WWE, didn't pop up either. But I was wondering what they were going to do with him. I was wondering if WWE was a secret producer of this film and got him in there. He does two of his wrestling moves. Is all he basically does. He's the guy that spears somebody and does a Samoan drop on somebody with the long hair and the beard. That's Roman Reigns. He's the guy that throws the two hooks.
Gotcha.
And he does his signature ooh-ah scream, and it's like, okay, he didn't even have a line in the movie, which I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
But he was a glorified extra, so I was curious what they were going to do with him, and you know, he kind of fit in with all the other brothers they didn't name.
Well, I mean, they certainly put in jokes in the movie. Like, I mean, of course, Dwayne Johnson's got his trademark, you know.
Oh yeah,
eyebrow.
the eyebrow. That was people's eyebrow.
Yeah, like that was cute. The scene that they had that in, and also, did you notice the scene with Statham with the cars, where he's going through his garage?
Oh yeah.
And
I love that.
I did too, because it like some questions started popping up in my
head.
It's like,
confirm merging universes here?
Yeah. So okay. Here's what happens. Like, they're going through Statham's garage where there was all these cars, and there's a Mini Cooper there, and Statham goes, oh, I used that on a job in Italy. And I'm going, so was that Shaw then in that? Under
Maybe
like
he's just using a different name.
Yeah. Okay. That's not even the first. I'm down with that. I am, because that's not even the first time I've seen that with some stuff with Statham. Remember him at the beginning of Collateral, where it's like, I think that was the transporter. Like the Collateral, the Michael Mann movie, opens in the airport with Tom Cruise getting the briefcase from a guy that's all the people that he's got to kill throughout the movie. And it's Statham who's dropping off the briefcase to him, and he's kind of dressed like Frank a little bit. So when I saw that in the theater, I'm like, was that Frank? Like, I think it was. I think the transporter gave Tom Cruise like the briefcase to kill all these people. I'm down with this. I'm down with like Shaw being this operative who's also his character from The Italian Job. Could also maybe be Chev Chelios. I am 100% like on board with that. I was enjoying a lot of that about the movie. There were certainly some highlights in the film that were carried by the actors, especially if you're fans of these two, which I am, and if you like the series, which I do. I mean, the series in the past, it's especially the later ones, they're really good at being what they are. Yeah. Dumb. Like, of course they are. But they're good at it. Like, they know to put in enough charisma in the movie, enough likable characters, enough comically absurd situations where it's like the better version of the Transformers movies, where it's just kind of better at being that and has more personality and life to it than a lot of the Transformers movies. This one, while there's certainly a lot things I liked and enjoyed about the movie, it was exhausting. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this is a movie that is pumped so hard with all of these extreme action sequences that would all almost be the climax in any other movie, that at one point it looks like they like pumped steroids into Chernobyl. Like, there's a part in this movie where they're at this like abandoned nuclear plant in the Ukraine that's like a super soldier version of Chernobyl, where there's like 12 nuclear smokestacks and like there's an abandoned town around it and explosions going off, and I'm watching it going like, all right, well, you're doing a better job at this than Die Hard 5 did. Okay, why not? Yeah, it looked like if the producers of Fast and the Furious did the Chernobyl TV series.
For me, this movie does fit right into the Fast and Furious franchise. I mean, with how absurd some things are. I look forward to seeing if they add a subtitle to the sequel or a number, because then you'll have Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw and then subtitle, because the title needs to get longer. But the big difference for me, though, tonally this feels a little different than a Fast and Furious movie, at least since part 4, where they started doing the heist stuff. Because where Fast and Furious, it's silly, but they take it seriously. I mean, you couldn't convince me that Vin Diesel he doesn't think his character is the most serious, character in movie history. Even though I think he isn't on the joke. But he takes it seriously. This movie just is like, yeah, we're going to be funny. And it feels a little more ridiculous because of all the back and forth between The Rock and Statham and other characters as well, that I'm not going to say who they are because there is a couple of somewhat, I guess you can call them cameos, future characters.
Yeah, I'll get into that in a bit.
Their comebacks are a little too scripted, where they're going back and forth, and it's like it was a little too polished for me. But it's not a bad thing, and this doesn't hurt the movie or help it really. It's just tonally different, just a little tonally different than a Fast and Furious.
It's kind of like, because the Fast and the Furious movies, the later ones especially, do have those moments in there that embrace the absurd. Like, do you remember the part in, I think it was 6, where Dwayne Johnson was in that arm cast
and
he flexed his way out of it and gets into a fight. Imagine a whole movie of scenes like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you got here. And they're back and forth. While there were certainly some good one-liners there.
Not saying I didn't enjoy it.
It was
It just definitely felt like
there was a lot of it. There was a lot of it to the point to where that's pretty much all it was between these two. Now, in a lot of buddy cop movies, of course, there's banter like that between them. But there is always moments beyond that, like where maybe they're not just trading one-liners with each other, insults towards each other. This was it was kind of all what you see in the trailer. The insults, the knocks towards one another. Sure, by the end they're friendly-er.
But they're still nailing each other with one-liners.
It's the whole movie is kind of too much in a lot of regards. With that, it's almost too much because nothing. When you get over when you're a 2 hour and 15-minute movie and it's kind of all just that, you kind of want it to grow a little bit past that. It'd be like if by the end of 48 hours, the movie, Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy are still talking the same way to each other that they did in the first 15 minutes of the film. And plus, even the action. This is a long movie, and it's too long. Because
you feel it.
I was getting really antsy, because the action is very exhausting. There's action set pieces in the film that, again, feel like it would be the climax of any other movie. That Chernobyl sequence, or Chernobyl-ish sequence, there's still maybe an hour left into the movie. But it's this big sequence that's certainly exhausting by the time you get done with it. And it's kind of the same with about every other action scene in the movie. And one thing I was noticing, this one more so than the others, because they're all PG-13. This one, you really felt the bloodlessness of it. Mm-hmm. Were you thinking the same thing?
I exactly thought that near the first, because it's like, there was guns involved, but there was where you could they were all connected to like this network the villains had for some reason. And it made sense if, like, say the good guys got a hold of a gun, they couldn't use it because they didn't have the programming or whatever, but that plays into the plot to where, this is how a bunch of unarmed Samoans, or at least armed with like native weapons, are gonna fight this group of people that could just go and then when you got in all the fight scenes and stuff, there was guns, but rarely did anybody get shot.
Rarely do they even have like any scratches on them, really. And there are fight sequences, and maybe it's because this is the same summer that I'm watching this movie, the same summer that there was a John Wick movie, and last week with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where there's sequences in this movie where things will happen like you would kind of see in a John Wick movie. The fight scenes, certainly. But also parts where, like, that guy's hanging onto the car and he's just slammed into that concrete wall. Yeah. It's noticeable in the way that the violence is toned down here to where it's virtually bloodless. And it's noticeable, is the thing. Like, it's not that I'm like, PG-13 action. Pfft. I'm just saying, in the case of this movie, it's more noticeable here than in any of the other movies. And it's when I got out of the movie, again, I was tired because I was sitting there antsy. My leg was shaking in like the last half hour.
You didn't stay through the credits, did you?
Oh, okay. So I you know what? That'll be a good segue into this. This movie is it's too long. And there are sequences in this movie that almost bring the movie to a grinding halt. There's a couple of cameos in the movie. I won't say who they are. It's no one from the previous movies. One, near the beginning of the movie, when he shows up. At first, it's kind of funny, like, because he and Dwayne Johnson have a good banter together in a couple of lines. But it goes on a while. And then later, when he comes into the movie, again, kind of goes on for a little while and really goes nowhere in sequences that that could easily be summed up with a couple lines of dialogue. There's another cameo in the movie that happens on an airplane where it has to do with this actor who's playing an air marshal on the plane, and again the movie stops for this shtick to happen between these three characters, Hobbs and Shaw and this other person. And at first, when the person shows up, it's like, oh, okay.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, because, but it keeps going and going and going. And same with when he shows up again later in the movie. And those end credit sequences, there's 3. There's a couple mid-credit sequences. There's one at the very end. And I saw the first 2. And again, it was just kind of extensions of jokes that were already there and really didn't amount to anything. So I wanted to leave, so I pulled out my phone and wrote, is there a post-credit sequence here?
Yeah.
Saw the article that said yes, and I saw what the scene was, and I'm like...
I'm leaving.
Okay, I don't need to see this. This isn't going to add to anything.
No, it didn't even connect to the next Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Because I thought that there's this disembodied voice that's leading the bad guys.
That's why I stayed. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay... Maybe we're going to... And they don't reveal who it is, so I'm just going to speculate here. I was thinking... My 2 thoughts was it was going to be Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
And it was going to connect to the next movie. Or there's rumors that... Well, now since there's like genetic healing and all this stuff with Idris Elba's character, I'm like, oh, they're going to bring back Han. And he's going to be a bad guy now, right?
That'd be awesome.
Which I think that's where they're going to go. Because you do have to find some way to forgive Shaw, because everyone is always like on board that Shaw's a good guy now. It's like, dude killed Han, right? Have we forgotten that he killed family, right?
That's what Sarah always brings up. I need to shoot her a text to see if she's going to see this movie. She brings that up too, because she loves Jason Statham, like as everyone should. But when she got the trailer for this movie, she was like, but he killed Han. But he's Statham.
They have not addressed this, really. You know, it's like all of a sudden he's allowed on the family rooftop for the cookout, but they killed one of the family? Come on. I know. It's like, I know he saved the baby, but
that was
still.
In the past. That was movies ago.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought they were going to find some way to connect it to. But boy, I guess The Rock and Vin Diesel really don't want anything to do with each other.
About that, yeah.
So I guess they're separating them. I don't know. I mean, I guess these characters aren't going to show up in 9.
Really?
Yeah. So, which is unfortunate. That being said, I think the Hobbs and Shaw franchise probably took the best people. You know, you got The Rock, you got Statham, you got Helen Mirren, which I love Helen Mirren. So every second, even though it wasn't a long time, I have a big crush on Helen Mirren. And I don't care what anybody thinks.
She's gorgeous.
And I love how funny she can be, and even just the little bit she's in this movie, I'm sitting there just loving every second of it.
Same.
And something that I have to bring this up, especially since this movie is 2 times about family, Hobbs' family, Shaw's family. Where the heck was Owen?
Okay, like I was wondering about has he died?
No.
Owen Shaw hasn't?
He helped on the airplane. He helped his brother on the airplane in the 8th movie. And there's a line in this movie where I think that Shaw is talking about my brother being Brexton. You made me kill my brother, right? Because they mention early on that you killed me and they brought me back to life, and that's why I'm Black Superman now, right? And he goes, you made me kill my brother. And it's like, okay, either he's talking about him, and there's a big Owen Shaw hole in the middle of this movie about family, or there's a story we haven't been told yet, which but that's the only time they mention it. You would have thought that would have been more of a plot thread if, say, he was forced to kill his own brother or something like that. So I'm really curious about that, because there's this whole thing about Helen Mirren wanting to see the family together, but where's the other son?
And I couldn't remember if I'd forgotten about him in 8.
Yeah, well, whenever he was the villain first, and then you find out that Statham's his brother, you end up finding out that he didn't die, and he's in that hospital in the security max prison, and then they let him out to help save the baby on the airplane, but that's the last we see of him. So he doesn't die in that movie, as far as I can remember.
I mean, I couldn't remember either. Sarah might, but
even if he just would have showed up at the end there to maybe set up something for the next Hobbs and Shaw movie where he'll be involved, I would have been fine with that.
It would have been a better post-credit scene than dude talking about Game of Thrones.
I do say though that I do think that the end credit scene involving Shaw's family was great.
Yeah, that was the better one of the two that I saw.
I was good with that one.
Yeah, I mean,
because it was everything I hoped it would be. Minus Owen Shaw.
The woman in the movie is what's her name? The actress. I'm
drawing a blank. I really liked her in this.
I did too. She's really good in this. She's the Shaw sister in the film. She gets they have to protect her because she's infected with the virus, and that's who Brexton, Idris Elba's character, is trying to get, and they're trying to get this virus out of her, or it'll kill her in a few days and basically cause this extinction event. There are very big stakes in this film, but at the same time, but because the movie's so bloodless, it's like there's like extinction event stakes here, but I'm really not feeling nervous about any of this. I'm also like, wow, what if this movie did end catastrophically like that? That would be gutsy. You make the next one a post-apocalyptic film.
I don't know. Maybe Fast 9 would be about time travel, where they need to go back and get the Infinity Stone so they can fix. No,
it wouldn't be any more unrealistic.
They will be in space by 10, I'm sure.
The writer came out and said, I'm not above putting this in space. It's gonna happen. They are going to go up into outer space.
One thing I liked about the sister, she wasn't damsel in distress.
No.
I really like that they let her hold her own.
She holds her own with the one-liners, with the action. I mean, she has a big action scene in the opening of the film with her and Idris Elba. She's good. She's funny. She works great with Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham.
I think maybe they're saving this for another movie, but they teased a little budding romance between her and The Rock.
Oh, that's gonna happen.
But it was weird though, because they're like, basically, if we make it out of this alive, we'll see another sunset together, right? But they didn't even show that scene. Maybe they'll come out and have The Rock say, "You owe me a sunset" or something, and it'll be sweet. And they'll.
Chat says Vanessa Kirby from The Crown.
That's it.
Yeah, she's excellent in the film. I'd really like to see her in some more stuff. Yeah, the movie. You know what this movie kind of felt like to me? Like when I thought about it a bit today, it was like a better Men in Black International. What I mean by that is that like both feel, when you watch both, they definitely feel like products. Mm-hmm. You can see how they're manufactured on screen. You can see how it's just kind of this made by committee film of like, we need this set piece here, this here, and it does feel like it's on autopilot for the kind of movie that it is, and it is exhausting. But much like how the other Fast and the Furious movies are dumb and over the top, like a Transformers movie, they're just better at it. This movie is better at being just this kind of summer product of a movie than Men in Black International. The jokes work better here. The actors and the chemistry work better here. If it was a half hour shorter, I'd be happier about the film.
Definitely.
I totally would. It's just better at just being this kind of overproduced product of a movie than something like Men in Black International.
Well, that's just it. You look at Men in Black International, and though you've got a decent cast in that, they just weren't given anything to work with.
Uh-huh.
And Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, we've seen them work well together in Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So, I mean, despite what you think about that movie, it's too silly or whatever.
Sure.
But at least they had chemistry together. So you were hoping that was going to carry over to Men in Black, which they kind of got neutered in that one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This one, they kind of just let The Rock and Statham be The Rock and Statham and let us love them.
Yeah, because that's what everyone wants going into it. You're going into this to see Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham be at their doing what they do best in this big budget action movie. And it's not while I got certainly antsy and very anxious because of its length and everything, I think people will have a good time if they go see this movie.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it where I did. Idris Elba is very good in the film. Idris Elba as the villain, again, kind of like how Statham and Dwayne Johnson can take these one-note characters in this movie and make something of it with their chemistry, with their screen presence. Same goes for Idris Elba as the villain. Like, because it's not exactly like it's a real three-dimensional villain we're talking about here, but he's charismatic as hell. He brings something to this character. He brings personality and menace, and he's cool. He's really cool in this film.
See, I don't know if I liked him as much as you did. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I thought he sucked in this movie and he shouldn't have been. No, I like Idris Elba. I thought he was a serviceable villain.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because he had to go up against the charisma of The Rock and Statham, which is why maybe he, for me, was knocked down a peg.
Uh-huh.
I love the guy, and I love seeing him work, and I thought he made a good villain.
Yeah.
What did I think he was... Would I like more... Would I have liked to had more to him? Yeah, a little bit. And they tried...
I agree with that.
They tried with, the whole story between him and Shaw and things, but... With as silly as the movie was, the serious stuff didn't really stick.
And it was brief.
Yeah.
Like all that, it's just like...
Again, and that plays in that whole, you made me kill my brother thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
and... Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, and that, like, on paper, and even in the movie, it's not like there's depth to the character, really. There's not. But... It's one of those roles where it's good that there's an actor like Idris Elba there because he can bring that entertainment value to the screen, and he's suave in the film. I mean, he's cool, but I mean, he's just genuinely a pretty cool actor.
Yeah, well, you had to have someone in that role that could stand up to the charisma of those two.
You did, yeah.
I mean, if you would have had someone not as cool as him, the villain would have been weak.
Yeah,
because there's really, other than I'm a Terminator, there's really nothing there.
You're right. No, you're right. It is good that it's him in the role. Same with having Statham and Dwayne Johnson in their roles in the film, because it's not like there's a lot of depth to them either.
Yeah. That's just
the kind of movie it is, really.
With those two, though, I would love to see them do something with more depth, because they both can do movies with more depth.
Totally.
So it would be neat to see them try something different for a more serious director. I'm not saying David Leitch isn't serious about his work, but I'm just saying in a more serious, like maybe a drama or something like that between those two, because both of them, I've seen them both pull it off.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd love to see how they interact in a movie like that as well.
Yeah.
That's the strength of their charisma.
Dwayne Johnson with Pain and Gain, and even though I didn't like this movie, the Southland Tales, he's good in that. Like, that's a different kind of role for him. Not a very good movie, but different kind of role for him. Statham, totally. There was that movie London, where he was the drug dealer. That was a more dramatic role for him. He was really good in that. Statham's always great, but like there are those roles where he's playing against type, like that film, or what was it called? Redemption.
I love that movie.
Yeah, the one with him and the nun.
Yeah, I know a lot of people think that movie's weird. I love that movie.
I liked it too. I did. That was a very different kind of movie for him.
Yeah. Well, because he wasn't playing the badass.
Yeah.
He got his butt handed to him I don't know how many times in that movie. He was on the run in that movie. He was hiding. Yeah. And you don't expect Statham to hide from anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. That was That's worth checking out, especially if you're a Statham fan. He plays very much against... He does show some real dramatic chops in that, and there's a movie that he did that not a lot of people like, but I really do, Revolver, the Guy Ritchie movie.
I love that one, too.
Right? Yeah, like, not many people do, but I'm like, this is a weird, cool movie. Like, this is like if you cross, like, Martin Scorsese and David Lynch, like, it's odd. It's watch that movie. Like, again, it kind of sets up like it's going to be the Statham, like, revenge movie, but it goes to some weird, abstract, dark places in that film. That's totally worth checking out. So yeah, they totally can, those actors. And I'd like to see more of that in the future.
I mean, granted, I want to see more stuff like this too.
Well, sure,
but I don't.
They're great at this too.
But I don't want this to be all they do together.
Yeah.
Because again, I think they have a lot of range that they could pull off something.
They do.
Something
They're
big.
underrated in that regard. But I mean, as far as the movie goes, I mean, if you're a fan of the series, you're gonna see this movie anyway. But like, I mean, if you're just a casual watcher, it would maybe be fun. I'm torn. I want to say like it would be fine for like a second run theater, but at the same time, I mean, it is pretty long. Like you almost need a break watching this movie. If you rent it, it's a really good
it'd
rental.
be a great rental.
Yeah, it's a very, very good rental.
See, I enjoyed seeing it in theater again. Yeah, it was a little long, so I probably wouldn't see it again in the theaters.
Yeah, no.
You know, I would wait. But again, that being said, fans of the franchise might be a little disappointed that it doesn't connect more. You know what I mean?
I was fine with that.
I mean, I was okay with that too,
Yeah.
because again, they were my favorite parts of the last movie, so that's what I wanted. I just
Yeah.
wanted them, and then of course you took Helen Mirren as well. So
Yeah.
I was good with that, but I just think true fans of the franchise might go, well, wait, the after credit scene didn't set up the next movie, right?
That's why I looked at my phone and was like, what is it going to be?
Oh, aftercredits.com is my friend.
Yes. Absolutely, it is. Well, let me, before we get into the super chat here, I'm going to throw up another clip of the movie, of another Cinema Snob movie. We've got some really big news as far as distribution goes on that film coming up here soon. Don't know around when we'll be able to, but maybe soon, maybe later, but it's going to be really, really cool. So until then, here, take a look at this. Okay, to set up, I haven't shown this clip on the show before, but to set up this clip, this is really early into the movie. This is where my character, Craig, and Rob Walker's character, Neil, they're on their way to the premiere of their movie, within the movie. So they're in the back of an Uber, and they're nervous about how it's going to go over, and they're really nervous about how the movie's, or at least my character is at least, about how the movie's going to go over, and I'm asked, like, you know, why Craig has gotten into the YouTube business, and this is the part that actually sums up the events of the first film. And speaking of cameos, there's a cameo in here, so here's a clip from another Cinema Snob movie.
What if our movie sucks?
We drink.
What if it doesn't suck?
We drink more to celebrate. Listen, why did you want to get into the YouTube critic biz anyway?
Because we needed funding on Black Angus, so I created the character of the Cinema Snob to infiltrate the film group. And then a serial killer started murdering members of the club. And when I shot the killer, I figured it would be a waste to stop playing this character.
Wait, you know this. You were there. Yes, and now our Uber driver does too.
Christ, what is wrong with you YouTubers? Y'all are fucked up. Seriously.
There you go. You can watch it now over at cinemasnobmovie.com. You can watch it on Vimeo on demand over there, or you can order the DVD as well. That's at cinemasnobmovie.com, or go to our eBay store as well. Our eBay store is Stone Gremlin Productions, where you can pick up the whole Cinema Snob DVD collection, which is 6 DVDs, I believe. And again, we'll be having having a big announcement coming up soon on some very exciting distribution news. Now let's go over to the super chat. Oh Okay, thank you so much, first of all, everyone, for contributing to the super chat here. Eli Neiman. Brad, I know you don't talk about internet drama. Where's this going? And that this is old, but what are your thoughts on the Pro Jared incident? I didn't follow that. I'm sorry. I saw the day that it was trending. I really didn't look more into it beyond that, to be perfectly honest. I mean, sorry. But the one funny thing I remember from that day when that was trending was pretty much everything, all of the trends on Twitter that day were YouTubers and YouTube channels. One of them was James Rolfe and AVGN. So I clicked on that because I was like, why is James trending? I clicked on that, and while everyone was talking about whatever was going on with Pro Jared or whatever, with James, he was trending because it was people going like, but James is awesome. James is a great guy. James is one of the sweetest guys you'll ever meet. So yeah, he was trending for all the right reasons.
Yeah. What little bit I know about it, it's hard to know what's true and what's not when it comes to internet drama. So, I mean, who knows who's lying, who's telling the truth?
Sure.
Is there a middle ground somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
Is all the story out there? So it's hard to really comment. I don't like to comment on that stuff either because it's just
right.
like I can say I know things, but I really know things? No, I
know things. I know things.
Me, I have my own problems.
Yeah. Right. I'm sure I had other stuff going on that day where all that was going on. But Eli Neiman again. Speaking of Idris Elba, what are your thoughts on the new Bond actor? So, in the next Bond movie, it's somebody else is 007.
Supposedly, Bond is retired.
Okay.
And someone else has the 007 number.
Okay.
And I'm guessing, even though this hasn't been confirmed or anything, from what I understand, Bond's supposed to come back and help with some mission or something. My thoughts are, what I think they're going to do is this is going to be the end of, at least for now, the James Bond character. I think they're going to bring him back. Whether he survives or not, he's going to pass on the torch to this new person, and they're going to be the new 007, whatever their name is, because I don't know what the character's name is. I just know they're supposed to be the new 007. I think they're going to technically start a new franchise, at least for a while, until they decide to reboot it again.
Yeah, I'm of two minds. Because, like, on the one hand, because I'm a Bond freak. I'm a huge James Bond fan. I could talk James Bond for hours. I'm of two minds. One, I'm like, okay, well, that's different. You know, it's been decades. I understand him wanting to try something different. Like, I get it. Like, you know, maybe it'll kind of rejuvenate things a little bit. Maybe they'll be able to go in some interesting places that maybe they wouldn't have been able to before. On the other hand, I love James Bond. I want James Bond movies.
Yeah, and that's just it. I'm not saying this is the right way to go. I just think this is where I think it's going to go, whether it's right or wrong.
That was kind of the gist of what I saw.
I think, honestly, I feel that, of course, this is in this day and age, there's going to be backlash, no matter what they do, right? So
yeah, that I don't care about.
But is it the right way to go? Yeah, I like James Bond a lot too, especially this Daniel Craig run. I'm not saying all the movies have been great, but I like him as the character. I know at times he doesn't. But
sure.
I do feel that's where they're going to go with it, though. They're going to retire Bond, the character of James Bond, not the number. The character of James Bond is going to be put on the shelf. I'm going to say, at least, unless this next Bond movie bombs because of the decisions they make, it'll probably be at least for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
I think they're going to try to run with this number thing for a while, because I mean, you got to remember,
that's different. Like, you know, don't give them that. I mean, it's different. I understand that in a way, like, but I love James Bond.
Well, that's it. I mean, well, that's just it. James Bond. I know there was that whole thing. Is it just a number? Is James Bond a code name? But with this Bond especially, it is his name. We know it's his name. It's not his code name.
There's also been things from the other movie that link the Bonds together. Like there's the fact that Timothy Dalton's Bond and Roger Moore's referenced Tracy Bond dying. Was it
Roger Moore kills off Blofeld because of it, and whichever one he kills him because Blofeld killed his wife.
Diamonds Are Forever opens with Sean Connery looking for Blofeld, and in License to Kill they reference him. They reference that event at the beginning of License to Kill. So there's things that have happened in him that link him. Or at least a few of them. So I never really went along with that code name theory.
I was never a fan of it either. Again, I'm okay if they want to pass the number.
Yeah,
why
absolutely.
Not? Why not? Well, we don't have we don't have this super spy. Well, we got to fill that number with somebody. Here's said new character, right? And I'm okay with that, especially playing into this storyline, because even if they just keep this same storyline going with this new character and you still have the new M and Moneypenny and them in it, that might be a decent way to continue. But that being said, we do love the character of James Bond.
Well, if it doesn't work, maybe they'll bring him back and it'll be just like Return of Xander Cage.
Maybe we can get Old Man Bond.
Yes, absolutely.
Post-apocalyptic James Bond coming back to settle the score.
Why not? He went to outer space. Eli Neiman again. Vanessa Kirby's rumored to play Catwoman. I could see that.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, she's really good in Hobbs and Shaw. I could totally see that. Christos Katsanis. Have you seen Lethal Woman? The one about the Amazon women hunting and murdering a lot of rapists, but they kidnapped a guy who's innocent and he brutally murders all of them. What? You know what the funny thing is? I've not seen this movie, but I own it.
It's in the other room?
Yeah, VHS of it. It's on the shelf in there, I think next to Lethal Ninja. Yeah, I do own a copy of that. You're right, that would be pretty perfect for the show, actually. Eli Neiman, for a Cinema Snob review, can you review Pinocchio in space? I didn't know there was a space Pinocchio. There was, I've got The Erotic Adventures of Pinocchio. It's not his nose that grows. That's the tagline. And Diane Thorne from Ilsa is the Blue Fairy in it. It's actually, the movie's not as fun as it sounds. It's surprisingly bleak.
Does he lie to women to get them in the bed? But that's also how
he lies about a few things. I can't. It's been years since I saw it, and Buford and I watched it, and we were bored. I've got that movie in there too. Yeah, it's there's a part he lies and it's his dick that grows, and there's a part where he's got to walk through a hall, so I think he pretends like his penis is like a table that he's with like a drape over it, like that. I think that happens in the movie. That's sounding really, really familiar. No, I didn't know that Pinocchio went to outer space. I got to tell Laura the other day about the time Casper the Friendly Ghost went into outer space. Do you remember Casper and the Angels?
I don't think so.
So there's this show called Casper and the Angels. It was 13 episodes back in the 70s. Do I even need to say it was? This is when they were doing stuff like Gilligan's Planet and putting everything in space. So there was a short-lived Saturday morning cartoon called Casper and the Angels, in which Casper is a space cop partnered with a jokey ghost named Harry Scary, and he's partnered with two female motorcycle cops out of Charlie's Angels, and they bust criminals and things like that. Here's the funny thing about that. The funniest thing about that is, one, it's actually kind of a great show, but also when I was growing up, my aunt had a VHS of Casper and the Angels. So when I was a kid, I thought that's just what Casper was, because the old Casper the Friendly Ghost cartoons weren't getting rerun anywhere when I was growing up, or at least that I didn't see, not on channels I was watching, or maybe I just missed them. So I only knew of Casper. Whenever someone would say Casper the Friendly Ghost, I think of Casper and the Angels. I thought the show was always just about him being a space cop with 2 hovering motorcycle cops in the future. It wasn't until some years later where I'm like, oh, this is... The original Casper's nothing like that 70s show.
Well, 2 things. 1, I still think Casper is dead Richie Rich. And
Totally.
And 2, I don't know if the Snob would do it, but I want to see the Roberto Benigni Pinocchio
I've been
done.
thinking about that. Yeah.
Because anytime I see a clip from that, I'm like, I know people have
I've
made
seen
fun of it. And it's just, that movie is ripe.
Yeah, it is.
For ripping
I
on.
probably will, because that's been on my list for a long time. That would be ripe. I've been thinking about that one for a long time. I totally should.
Especially with them talking about making new Pinocchio movies now.
It would be perfect for around when a new Pinocchio movie would come out.
I think they're doing one. It's coming up next year? I know they're working on one.
Is it like tied into the Disney one at all?
I think it's their, in their
it's a live action
in their
remake?
stretch of live action stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's next year, if it's just in development. I know they're talking about it.
Get Jonathan Taylor Thomas back.
And I
man.
can't remember who's attached. I know they've attached somebody for Geppetto, and I can't remember. Is it? I want to say it was like Andy Serkis.
That I could see.
But
Have
don't
it be Drew Carey again.
Don't quote me on that. But I remember someone was attached to be Geppetto.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you can. I haven't liked most of the Disney remakes, but I'll give it a chance. Pinocchio is one of my favorite ones. That's in my top 3 of the Disney movies. But well, thank you so much, everyone, for all the contributions to the super chat. Really good questions in there too. Thanks so much for watching. Again, own our movie today, cinemasnobmovie.com. Plus, let's see, next weekend there is 4 movies, but I don't know if I'll be reviewing them Friday because I think I'm gonna be up in Chicago again for a night or 2 next weekend. So it might be like Sunday or it might be like Sunday or Monday or sometime next week. That gives me plenty of time to watch all 4 of the movies that are out. I think The Kitchen's one of them. The dog movie might be one of them. Dora, that's it. Of course I remember the dog movie first.
I wonder
the
if
talking dog film.
I'm wondering if I'm going to want to vomit us out of the theater.
Yeah, I hope that's not 2.5 hours long. But yeah, so I'll be back sometime next weekend or next week with reviews of Dora and all of those movies. Where can we find you at again?
You can find me at The Real Geno, REELGENO. That's YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff.
YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. And you can find us as soon as I find my... There we go.
I was going to say, you didn't delete that one while we were doing this review, did you?
I have before. Well, not during the review. That would be a new one. You can subscribe to us at youtube.com/StonedGremlin Follow us on Instagram at The Cinema Snob. Follow us on Twitter at The Cinema Snob. You can follow us at a lot of places. We'll see you guys next weekend. Thanks a bunch, everyone, for watching.